I would like to call the Flint Board of Education Special Board meeting to order at 6:07. Board members, as I call your name, please reply present for the public record. Danielle Green.
Present.
Carol McIntosh, absent. Vera Perry.
Present.
Betty Ramsdell.
Present.
Blake Strozier, absent. Diana Wright. Absent. And myself, present. At this time, the board will hear any comments from the public. Members of the public are reminded that the Board of Education, by its bylaw 1370, is not under obligation to answer questions, make statements, or commitments in response to issues raised by the public. In general, such issues will be referred to the interim superintendent, to the superintendent for investigation, study, or recommendation. Mo, we got to take that out. You tripped me up. At this time, I will ask Stephen if there are any comments from the public.
Good afternoon. There are currently no comments or questions from the public.
Okay. The community is reminded that they may submit their questions by email to FBOE@flintschools.org to have their questions read at the next board meeting. Okay, this is the Finance and Operations Committee with action item 11.36, change of scope of project. Board members, last Wednesday, we agreed as a board to table action item 11.36, change of scope, so we could hold a special meeting for this item only. This is our opportunity to discuss, and my hope is that after discussion this evening, we come to a consensus to move it to the regular board meeting on Wednesday for adoption. So basically the way that I think that this meeting should flow best is we'll just kind of go around the room, ask any questions, and then once we get that all answered up, we'll go from there. So I had the chance to speak with superintendent and JCI, and I know when we left the meeting last week, we were basically under the understanding that there's two different options that we were even looking at. I'm not even considering moving the central kitchen because I don't think that's even worth the conversation right now. So the two options were to do nothing with Northern, just kind of shut it down for the winter, and with Northwestern, shut it down for the winter, and
not Northern, Northwestern.
Yeah, Northwestern. I'm sorry. Yep, Northwestern. And then we would be able to add air conditioning to more schools, kind of do more with some of that savings. The other option was to lay it up so it's basically winterized, ready to go, never again. So doing so, we have to build a firewall, which is super expensive, which then eliminates the ability for us to put some of the climate controls in some of the schools. Now, after speaking with JCI and Anita, we discussed the option of a hybrid of both that I sent over in my email, that what we could do is do nothing this year, get the air controllers into the schools that we need to get into, pay the little bit extra of the utility bills at Northwestern, hope that nothing happens in 6 months, and then next year, lay it up. So we do a hybrid of both. So we still provide air for the kids that need to get the air. We have a 6-month span, basically, or however, 3 months, 5 months, whatever it is, of hope and pray that there's no catastrophic event at Northwestern. And then next year, once we get back into a better funding spot, then we can choose to lay the building up at that point, kind of creating a best of both worlds. That personally, my own opinion, I think that's our best option, only because our first and foremost goal needs to be to get air to the kids, to create a culture and climate for our children to be able to learn in. I think that's the more important thing. But then what we do after that, is going to be a different story. Then the other caveat to this is I'm going to be a part of this initial vote, but next year I'm not going to be on that board. And what I don't want anybody to do is think that I'm offering something to just kick the can down the road. I want everybody to really consider this, because while, yes, this is something that I think is a great idea, I want to make sure everybody feels comfortable with this, because I don't want this to be something that people, curse my name in 6 months because of a decision that was made right now. So that being said, I don't know if we just kind of want to go around the room and I can just call on each of you individually. So we'll start with Ms. Green, if you'd like to start off with any questions.
Yeah, when anybody, you say controller, are we talking about central air? Because we use so many interchangeable names when it comes to that. I just want to make sure I'm clear what air controllers are.
The air conditioning. I meant like climate control, like the air conditioning.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I can mess that up completely if I'm not sure. So for me, I was talking to Mrs. Ramsdale earlier, and for me, and like all the rest of us on the board, we want to make sure that your children in the schools have that ventilation and that circulation of air, the central air. So I think that's the utmost importance to everybody. So my question would be, because I can't see us putting it in all schools except for those Pierce, Eisenhower, and Brownell. That just makes no sense to me. And I understand that the conclusion was reached based on something that JCI came up with. I guess the district too. I'm not sure, but whatever option that would allow us to keep the central kitchen there, because I can't see putting any more money in the Northwestern either. We're talking about to open it back up later. We don't know if that's ever going to happen. And I say to speculate on that, I think it would be jumping the gun. I don't know, but I think I need to know what option, or is it another option I'm talking about where we can have air in all of the schools and not exclude those 3 that we talked about in the last meeting. So when we talk about those options, you said, President Lester, either one of those options include putting in air in those other 3 schools too?
Anita, do you want to kind of go over how that would look?
Hello, how are you guys? I'm also going to call on Casey, Carrie. Mrs. Stokowski, can you unmute yourself as well so you can help me through this process? And so I think the best option that President Lester has listed to the board members would be to do absolutely nothing at Northwestern. Central kitchen will stay there. We're not laying up Northwestern. We're not putting in the firewall. We will not be able to do the water conservation, and we will not be able to do the lighting throughout the district. We would take all of the funds that we have set aside for JCI and create a bit of our sinking fund, and we will be able to put air in all of our buildings. Mrs. Stokowski, is that would you add anything or would you revise anything that I stated?
Good evening, board members. That is correct. What Superintendent Stewart said. We would remove all the lighting, water conservation, building envelope from the original scope. We would not do anything additional at Northwestern. There would be no other projects there in this contract at Northwestern. It's a little bit over our original, but I believe in interest of making sure that all of our buildings have air conditioning, we would use some of our sinking fund. So this puts air in all of the buildings that are in the project, not administration. And again, ALA, DTM, and Southwestern are not part of this project at all, but it puts it in the Brownell, Eisenhower, Pierce, puts air in those buildings. That's correct. Thank you.
So it puts air in the, we have 11 buildings, so it puts air in the other 8 buildings, just not ALA, not Southwestern, but in the other 8 buildings.
Okay. I was just gonna ask that. Okay. So, because I guess, okay, we talked, Ms. Stokowski talked about the more, I guess it's the consumer bill or the bills over at Northwestern, if we don't do the firewall and the rest of that stuff. And I can't remember what we were looking at in reference to that, but I think it was like $200,000 a year, something like that. Is that close to, Ms. Stokowski, what we talked about?
Yep, that'll roughly be the utilities to keep Northwestern the way it is. It'll be roughly $200,000 a year.
Okay, and I think that's unfortunate, but that's something we're gonna have to chalk up because we have to provide the air as we promised the community. That's the utmost importance to me. I can't even sit still and learn, and I'm 50. If I'm hot, and you know, that just bothers me. So I don't know what option I'm talking about, but whatever option that is, that's the one I'm looking at. And more conversation, of course, would have to be had in reference to Northwestern in the next 5-6 months, as President Lester was talking about. So that's just the way it has to be for me. We're going whatever we have to do to get the air in, and we'll deal with the other things later. So that's all for me.
So Ms. Green, it sounds like you're talking about option 4. So option 4 would be to do nothing to Northwestern and no lighting, no water conservation, and air in 8 buildings. That's option 4.
So we say no lighting, Water conservation meaning, what exactly does that mean? At Northwestern, we're not doing any lighting
So
additional?
It would be at all of our buildings. Yeah, it would be at all of our buildings. So part of the original scope, and this was kind of touched upon last week, was that there was going to be energy savings to make it quote unquote self-funded. So the dollars that we saved on the electrical bill, on the sewer water bill, those in turn could be turned around to pay for the project itself. And so that's when this project started, that was the initiative. That we're able to move away from that because this bond now is being paid from our sinking fund. So we can remove those things that save the energy for the water and electricity again, that JCI did that work and prepared all of that. We're able to move away from that because we're using the sinking fund. So we're going to lose those energy savings, but we will gain that air conditioning in all of our buildings. So, there's just, as time goes on, we need the LED lighting. I think some of our buildings, just need new lighting, interior and exterior, period. The building envelope, that's when they're sealing up the building to kind of keep the air and the heat inside. We have to remove that from the project. And then the water conservation, again, just updating and repairing and replacing the water, pieces so that we're not using water inefficiently.
Okay. Yeah, I guess mine would be option 4. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. President
Ms. Green,
Lester.
any further comments, questions on that? Betty, do you have any comments, questions?
I'm going along with you and Danielle, and from the way Vera's shaking her head, I think, yeah, the elementary schools have just got to be a major project for us. For those kids to come in and have good air to breathe, to be warm in the winter and cool in the summer. I mean, they have so much to overcome anyway, but so that if we can give them a positive environment to do that in, that has got to be our first priority. I love Northwestern, started teaching there when it opened, but we're not going to have students in that building again. But we may down the line someplace have a new high school with some of the things that some of the foundations and things are saying. So I'm all for thing 4. We just have to do it because one of the things we're going to end up doing to make up for some of this is our summer schools are going to get bigger to make up for some of the things the kids will have missed once we get back to in classrooms. So that's all that much more important. So I'm all for 4, totally.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ansel. Ms. Perry?
Did we find out about the air circulation that I asked about last week and asked for you all to find out what the requirement was from the health department / CDC or whomever?
Oh, okay.
I did not find any. Can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can.
I did not find anything as far as requirements, and I also talked to a couple people that we associate within the health community to see if there were any quote unquote requirements, Mrs. Perry. So I didn't find anything that I actually stipulated requirements. I know in some of the precautionary work, they're asking us to make sure that we change our filters, that we keep things clean, as far as the vents, things of that nature. They're asking us to do those type of things as far as precautionary work, but I didn't find quote unquote a necessary requirement that was put out there by the health community.
Okay, because it just can't be stagnant air. Yesterday I was at a park with Leighton, and the wind was blowing real well. I was comfortable because there were several people there, but all of a sudden the wind just stopped, and his little buddy's mother said, "Wow, this air is not moving at all." And I said, "Yeah, this is when Corona gets an opportunity to spread because the air is not taking it away. So that's why I'm concerned about that. But if we're going to put that air in all those buildings, then I'm good with that, because you just cannot have a room like a closet. That air does not move in a closet. You've got to have air moving.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
So
ma'am.
I'm good with number 4. If that's the one that puts it all in all the all the buildings, I'm good with that.
Can I make, are you ready to have a motion?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, I make a motion. I'd like to make a motion that we go with option 4, which is air in the elementary schools. No further work will be done at Northwestern. I want to say this all right, so we don't have any doubts about it. The kitchen will remain where it is, the present, and we will put air and heating in our elementary buildings.
Mrs. Ramsdale, can I revise that just a little? It's air in 8 buildings. It's not all the elementary buildings because DTM is not included in the scope.
I hesitated there, and I should have asked you that we put air in 8 of our buildings, 8 of our elementary buildings.
To say 8 buildings, that we put air in 8 buildings. Yes, ma'am.
8 buildings. Okay, do you want me to go over it again, or have we got it, Monica? I make a motion that we go with option 4, which includes no further work will be done at Northwestern, that we will put air conditioning, etc., in 8 of our buildings.
Perfect.
Second.
It has been moved and properly seconded that we move action item 11.36, change the scope of project option 4 to the regular board meeting on September 16, 2020. No discussion. Seeing no discussion.
Yeah, you got a discussion. Yeah. You have a discussion. When are we planning on doing DTM and whoever else?
Oh,
Not DTM. It's not included. She said DTM's not included.
That's what right. That's what I'm asking. When are we planning on doing?
So DTM was originally in the scope of the work that was set aside with the Mott Foundation. Is that correct, Ms. Stokowski?
I'm sorry, I'm not aware of any DTM discussions. I think they all took place prior to my arrival.
Okay, I'm sorry. So I think, and don't quote me on this, 100%, but I think when we did the work with, oh my gosh, what's the center in front of DTM? It just slipped my mind just that quick.
Educare.
Educare, yes, thank you. When we did the work with Educare, the original plan was to do some work with DTM around the infrastructure so that those kids from Educare would flow over into DTM. And I do believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that was being funded by one of our foundations. I'll just say that was being funded by one of our foundations. And I think that work was paused. And so when you begin the original scope of work with GCI, that work was still into play. And so I just need to double back with Monica to find out who and what was going on with the work with DTM, and then see if we can go back and begin those conversations again so that we can have that work to start with DTM around the infrastructure pieces and all of the other pieces that are needed at DTM to make it look just as pleasant as Educare, so that we can continue with the plan of those students moving from Educare into DTM. And so once again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think that was the conversation around DTM and what was happening with DTM.
I'm pretty sure that's how I remember it. Don't you, Vera? Danielle?
I don't remember. I really don't remember.
Okay, no, me, it was the whole idea of bringing DTM up to the par so the Educare students wouldn't go from some building with everything to a building that didn't have that. So, yes, it seems to me, Danielle, you shook your head. Is that what you remember too?
It stands out to me. I worked at DTM, so I pay close attention to DTM information. And I pay attention to our information, but that's exactly, I can't remember the foundation either, Mrs. Stewart, but I think you explained it exactly how it went or how
Yeah.
it was.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I
So
will,
DT
go ahead. I'm
so
sorry, Miss. Go ahead.
will be the only one that is, for the lack of a better word, hanging loose right now.
DTM, Southwestern, and AOLA.
Okay, well, I guess I should have made it more specific. That would be our only elementary school that's hanging.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so whenever you can, try to find out some information just to let us know what
Yeah.
can be done.
Okay, so I'll do my research to find out what that, or what was going on with DTM and who was the organization that was going to help us to bring DTM up to date, and then see if I can open that door to begin that conversation again about DTM, and then I'll bring that information back to you guys once I have it.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
To Superintendent, thank you for this information. I apologize for not being on earlier, but thank you for providing this information to us about the air conditions. And I know that coming through on this pledge to provide air conditioning in all the buildings would definitely be a positive mark for the district. My question has to deal with, is this work that's going to be coordinated this year, or will this be done over the next year?
So, and I'm going to defer to Mrs. Stokowski, but I do believe that JCI was waiting on us to revise the scope of work and to sign a new revision for the scope of work, since the original one that the board had approved was the amount that we could not fund anymore. So, Mrs. Stokowski, can you add some more information and some clarity to this piece for me?
My understanding, and we do have JCI on the phone, is that this will be work completed soon. But Dan, are you able to talk on a time frame if we were able to sign a contract after voting on Wednesday?
Yeah, I've got Dirk and Herb. Herb's probably more involved in the air conditioning timeline. So Herb, what would you expect if we get the go-ahead this week to begin work again?
So once we get the go-ahead, we do final engineering. The engineering's done because the systems we put in are very specific to where they go. So the engineering will take just a little bit of time, and then equipment follows that. And equipment lead time usually has a 4 to 6 week lead time. And then from there, we would start the installs.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
President Lester.
Did we lose him?
I hope not. Casey?
President.
Okay, so we were at the discussion point, correct?
Yes,
And-
ma'am.
Motion was made and second, so we just need to call for roll call.
Yep. Okay.
Ask you, Betty. This is your meeting now.
All
So,
right,
Ms.
Wait, I'm back.
Can you do the roll
I'm
call?
back.
Oh,
okay.
he's back.
I'm back. Sorry, my phone for some reason lost service. So, okay, is there any more discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the vote is on the action, is the move action of 11.36 to the regular board meeting. Board members, as I call your name, please say yes or no to approve. Treasurer Green,
Yes.
Trustee McIntosh, absent. Trustee Perry,
Yes.
Secretary Ramsdell,
Yes.
Trustee Strozier,
Yes.
and it's a yes for myself. The motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Ms. Stokowski and Ms. Stewart. Do any board members have any comments before we adjourn?
I have one. that is not related to, I need to, it's my understanding that the paper receivers that they've got at the elementary schools, that company has gone out of business. I talked to Mr. Chapman about this a minute ago, and people are using them for dumping. And he said he would get some signs on them that says we are no longer using these, and that he's going to work on getting them out of the parking lots because people are dumping other stuff in them. So I don't know if you were aware of that, Ms. Stewart, or what, but if you wanted to talk to Mr. Chapman and find out where we are. I just don't want those parking lots to become dumping grounds. Thank you. That's all. I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Any other comments from the board members?
Nope.
Nope.
Seeing no further action, I declare the special board meeting adjourned. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Be safe.
Good job, everybody. Good
Good
job.
night.
Good night.
Bye.